Hey, Carlster fans, how's everybody doing? I'm the Carlster, and guess what? I'm feeling a lot better. Um, I wanted to talk about where I think the world is headed, especially the United States. Um, I think that we're headed back to the good old days because the price of food keeps going up. It's gonna get to the point where nobody's going to be able to afford food. So we're going to end up having to grow our own food right in our good old front yards and backyards. And um, I think the price of gas will get high enough to the point where nobody's going to be able to afford that. I mean, look at the price increase of cars. The cars go up every year in price. Um, Nobody's going to be able to afford to travel. I literally think we're headed back to horse and buggy days. Because everything is getting so expensive that that's what's going to end up happening. Um, we're going to have to invest in wood stoves again to heat our homes. Um, I mean, things are getting so bad and so expensive. Now, back to the food thing. I think that food in grocery stores will end up getting so bad where there's going to end up being fights. I mean, literally fights over food. I think there will be riots at grocery stores because nobody's going to be able to afford food. I think that certain people will probably end up investing in guns, which I don't like guns, but I think people are going to end up investing in guns and literally, you know, shooting people over food, killing people over food. I think it's going to get that bad in the United States. And unless we have people that are up and willing to fight for our food prices, because the food inflation is getting so high, and having people fight for our oil prices and or coming out with more alternative energies to run vehicles, um, and having people fight for our sanity. If we don't have people act now, we are going to be in a whole world of hurt. Um, because I'm not bringing the government into this because I don't um, want to talk about the government on my channel. So I mean, yes, they will play a big part in this, um, but we need people to fight for this. Um, as of right now, there are people in the United States that do go hungry. And that is because they cannot afford that. Um, there will literally be no money for people to afford health care. We're already in that sector, and and healthcare is not going in a direction that anybody likes. Um, so healthcare will probably go down a huge percentage because nobody will be able to afford to get their medicines, and nobody will be able to afford, you know, lots of other things. Um, Cell phones won't. Nobody will be able to afford to use their cell phones anymore. Um, That is how bad this world is getting financially, especially the United States. The United States is getting very bad financially. I mean, you're seeing all of these um, companies that are going out of business, and then you see all these companies that are, you know, flourishing um, like Amazon. You know, Amazon's flourishing. You know, they're but I think it'll get to the point where the only people that are going to be able to afford food is the super rich people. Um, which those people um, don't really care about the people that work the minimum wage jobs or the blue collar jobs. They don't care about those people. All they care about is themselves. And I hate to say that, but it's the truth. You know, you got to look at the real world situation right now where the point is, can we survive another um recession? My answer to that is no. You know, I mean, granted, I may have some of you tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about, but I do. I research a lot of things, and I really think that we're headed towards an economic disaster where we're going to end up having to A, use the horse and buggies again, like I said. B, we're going to have to be we're gonna have to grow our own food because we're not gonna be able to afford it. And I think that eventually that our dollar is gonna bottom out to where they're not gonna be able to even afford to print money anymore. So we're gonna have to find a different way of currency. And I don't think online currency is the future. I don't ever see them getting rid of physical currency. Um, because I think physical currency is the key. It's one of the keys to survival. Because as everybody knows, nothing is free. I mean, our tax dollars goes to pay for so many services, and when our dollar, our physical dollar, bottoms out, all those services that our taxes go to pay for, like where I work, which is community mental health, it's going to just plummet. We're going to be, there's not going to be any services for the developmentally disabled anymore. There's not going to be any ambulance services. Chances are only the super rich will be able to take an ambulance or take take a fire truck to get to their house or be able to go to the hospital because nobody other than the super rich will be able to afford to go to the hospital. And so I see all these mothers and children giving birth at home. And I see lots of people um, getting hardly any health care. I mean, it may result to the point where we may have to have visiting doctors in the home again. I mean, we're going backwards here, people. We're going back to like the 1910s, it seems, or before that. You know, we're going back to the horse and buggy days. I'm telling you, this is what's going to happen if people do not react now. This is very, very important. This is key to having to fight for what everybody believes in. Everybody has to fight for this. Okay? Healthcare is important. Food is important. Especially water is important. It's going to be hard to find water. You're probably not going to have water coming out of your pipes anymore, because people aren't going to be able to afford to pay their water bill, so they're going to come shut their water off. Same thing with electricity. The only light we're going to have is candlelight. We're not going to be able to afford to pay to keep the lights on in our houses because everything is getting so expensive. You have to fight for your electricity bills to go down. It's very this situation is getting way out of hand, and it takes us, the younger generation and the older generation, to fight for this stuff. Now is not the time to sit back and be lazy and not fight for this stuff. Fight for the developmentally disabled. The developmentally disabled need every single one of these resources. I take paratransit every morning to work, except for weekends. But every single morning, except for Mondays and weekends, I take paratransit. If that didn't exist, I wouldn't have a job anymore. I mean, yeah, it's a law that it has to be here. But if we go back to this stuff, we're gonna how I'm not gonna have a job probably working on somebody's farm. Yeah, but I don't know how I would get paid. So, this is very important. All of you, please fight for everything. Everything has to be fought for. Stand your ground. So, I mean, that is something that's very important to me, especially with me being developmentally disabled. I can't uh, I, I don't know certain ways how to function in certain areas, and I would be scared half to death because I wouldn't know what to do. So, um, I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you for listening, and make sure you do fight for what you believe in. This is the Carlster signing off, and keep it cool.